Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hello and welcome to this video. I hope everyone's doing alright. Hope everyone's having fun, and I hope the universe is treating you well. Today we return to Night Vale. See what's going on with our boy Cecil and what the inhabitants of Night Vale are doing. So, without further ado, let's go.
A friendly desert community where the sun is still hot, the moon still beautiful, and mysterious lights still pass overhead while we all pretend to sleep. Welcome to Night Vale.
Yeah, there's something about music and the algorithm monster, the copyright monster, that just, I don't know what it is. You can get away with more spoken word than you can music. It's just, I don't know what it is with that algorithm.
Word is in about a disturbance at the Desert Flower Bowling Alley and Arcade Fun Complex. There has been the sound of chanting and machinery from under the pin retrieval area of Lane 5. And Teddy Williams has changed all the bowlers' names on the electronic scorecards.
Well, changing the names could be, very devastating.
To "They are here." This is causing some confusion and has completely ruined Jeremy Godfrey's 50th birthday party, which had rented out a few lanes for the afternoon. Jeremy was last seen drinking a light beer out of a plastic cup, shaking his head sadly as he swished the liquid around and looking out the window at the sky, mostly void, partially stars.
Mostly void, partially stars. That's a good way of describing it.
Teddy Williams was last seen howling, commanding his militia to surround the pen retrieval area and prepare for an attack. And Carlos, sweet Carlos, brave Carlos, was last seen approaching the entrance to the underground city, saying he was going to get to the bottom of this, that someone had to, and that Teddy Williams was deranged.
Well, yeah, I think most people in Nightville are kind of deranged.
Teddy Williams was then last seen saying, oh yeah, say that to my face, big shot. But Carlos, my poor Carlos, was already gone. I fear, Night Vale. I fear for what we know. I fear for what we don't know. I fear for what we don't yet know that we don't know.
There's some kind of crazy Buddhist supernatural stuff going on right there.
The Apache tracker stood outside of the bowling alley, glowering at the entrance and shaking his head. I remind you that this is the white guy who likes to dress in a cartoonish approximation of a Native American and claims to have mystical powers.
Then again, don't all people?
He's a real racist jerk, and no one likes him. And the fact that he recently disappeared and reappeared as an actual Native American changes nothing. And neither does the fact that he can now only speak Russian.
That would be interesting. I think that would kind of make me reevaluate things.
He is still the same embarrassment to our town he always was. Anyway, he's glowering at the entrance, arms crossed, wearing one of his stupid plastic feather headdresses. But back to Carlos. Carlos the scientist. Perfect of stature and bearing, perfect of tone and taught, and time having fixed what the barbarous barber Telly so treacherously snipped away.
Yeah, Cecil's still crushing on Carlos. It's kind of cute if you think about it.
Perfect of hair. 1 year. 1 year later. Listeners. 1 single year since 2 major events in our town's history.
What?
First, the opening of our lovely, state-of-the-art dog park, which is forbidden, and which I will not mention again. Second,
every town should have a dog park like that.
and most important, it is 1 year since the arrival in Night Vale of our most beloved and singular citizen. He came to us to investigate our town because he said it was scientifically extraordinary and
Or impossible.
downright bizarre. We had no idea what he was talking about, but with his golden voice ringing out from the bell of his mouth, who among us could argue with the content of such perfect speech? Oh, just 1 short year ago, I had arranged a small ceremony to mark this occasion.
Yeah, Cecil got it bad.
And invited Carlos to attend. However, it looks like he will be delayed. But I am not worried. I am not upset. I know that Carlos will be here for the ceremony. I have the trophy here in my hand. I am holding the trophy and I am not upset. Carlos will be here. He will. I am holding the trophy.
Yeah, young love.
In other news, a commercial airliner appeared today inside the home of surprised Night Vale citizen Becky Canterbury, who said she was about to get in the shower when it roared down her hallway and then disappeared as suddenly as it had arrived.
You gotta hate when that happens. And I know when things interrupt me when I'm trying to go take a shower, it's kind of unsettling and just kind of, jarring.
There is no conclusive evidence that this is the same airliner last seen in the Night Vale Elementary Gym 1 year ago. But we have jumped to that conclusion and will defend it against all naysayers.
Yeah, small town politics and what have you.
Violently and without mercy. Our truths may or may not be true, but they are ours, and we stand by them, even as the experts and skeptics hold aloft clipboards and intone to us about snow.
You gotta love it.
And mountains. Becky added that she would like to take that shower now, and that she has no idea how we managed to arrive for an interview mere seconds after the incident occurred.
That sometimes you just get lucky, I guess. Well, then again, it is Nightville, Weird stuff does happen.
My doors are locked, she said. My windows, too. I've had my eyes shut for years. How did you get in here? The local chapter of the NRA has begun market testing some possible new slogans. These include "Guns don't kill people, blood loss and organ damage does."
Well, not to defend, the radical nut jobs of the NRA, but, he does have a point. They do have a point there.
Guns don't kill people, people kill guns. A list of things that kill people. 1. Conceivably anything. 2. Not guns. Guns don't kill people. We are all immortal souls living temporarily in shelters of earth and meat.
Ooh, gotta take a giggle break there.
And if you say guns kill people one more time, I will shoot you with a gun, and you will, coincidentally, die. To vote on the new slogan, simply fire a gun at the object or person that best represents your choice. Parents, let's talk about safety when taking your children to play out in the scrublands and the sand wastes. All children in Night Vale are missing this week.
That's, that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. It depends if you're a parent or not. If if you don't have kids, it's probably not a bad thing. But if you do have kids, it's probably worrisome.
So there's no current safety issues. Hope we find them. Oh, happy day. I have just received word that Carlos returned from the entrance to the city, gesturing to everyone around and asking them to follow him. He led them into the pin retrieval area, which is not an easy place for a crowd. So there was a lot of crouching and saying, excuse me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But soon enough, they were all arrayed on the cliff top, overlooking that dreaded subterranean metropolis. Teddy Williams and his militia, and the folks who had come for Jeremy's birthday party, and Jeremy himself, still holding his plastic cup of beer and leaning morosely against the wall, pointedly refusing to look where everyone else was.
Makes you wonder how much beer he's had.
This was the first time most of them had seen the city. It seemed so distant below them, its strange spires small and far away. The windows in the buildings, alight with the fire of hostile life, were tiny dots from where they stood. They could hear the footsteps of the approaching army, the chanting. Many of them quaked with fear.
I mean, a lot of what we do or believe in, like alien invasion and tropes like this, any kind of foreign entity, we base it on how we treat each other. So that's the reason why we have the invader trope. We have the evil alien or the evil underground living peoples because we treat each other like shit, so we expect these other entities to treat us like shit. So, that's kind of how that trope evolved.
But not Carlos. My brave Carlos stepped out into the pit, climbing down the slope. At first, onlookers were horrified at his lunatic descent. Then, they were confused, as he got to the city much faster than they expected. And then there was panic, as their eyes told them a story they could not understand, let alone believe. "Behold," said Carlos, standing in the center of the underground city. "This is not an enormous city miles below the earth. It is a very small city about 10 feet below the earth."
Well, yeah, it is what it is sometimes.
Populated by tiny people who have had to spend a year slowly climbing the 10 feet to our world.
I just wonder, proportionally, at the size of the people, that how tall that 10 feet was in proportion to them. If it was their equivalent of miles, or how many miles, or whatever metric, or if they might use metric, they might use kilometers. Or they may have a totally made up, or not really made up. I mean, the whole thing's made up. The whole show's made up, but it is what it is, and it's kind of crazy.
He gestured at the spires, which came up approximately to his knees. "We have nothing to fear." Well, if Carlos says it, I will happily repeat it.
Notice he says repeat it, nothing about believing it.
"We have nothing to fear, and never did." The City Council would like to remind you about the tiered heavens and the hierarchy of angels. The reminder is that you still should not know anything about this.
Yeah, that's, I've had discussions with theologians on stuff like that, and that is kind of their basic answer for some questions.
The structure of heaven and the angelic organizational chart are still privileged information. Also, angels aren't real. "I really get tired of having to say this," a city council representative said to a group of disgruntled angels. "Angels aren't real. They just aren't."
Now, this being Night Vale and all, I imagine they do have angels that kind of look like their biblical description. Except I think they are described more in the Jewish religious text than they are in the Christian religious or the Islamic religious text. But it's been a while since I've read, the Torah or the Kabbalah or the Bible or the Quran. I can't remember what it's been so long, I can't remember what the third Jewish text is. So you got the Quran, or not the Quran, you got the Kabbalah, the Talmud. Now, you see it, Talmud, Kabbalah. I hate it when the brain, because I just said it. So it's the silly putty between the ears. You got the Bible and the Quran. Well, it's been a while since I've read any of those texts.
The angels became unruly and were dispersed by a thunderclap from heaven. Oh, a truly fearful thing has happened, listeners. Carlos, standing triumphantly in the toy-scaled city, was attacked by tiny people using projectiles and explosives. He fell back to the side of the small hole in the pin retrieval area of Lane 5. Blood welled through his shirt. And here I am, stuck in my booth. Useless. Only able to narrate and not to help. He staggered, fell to his knees. So much blood.
I imagine, though, that Carlos kind of came across as an invader.
He collapsed completely. Curse this town that saw Carlos die. Curse me. Curse it all. Let us take a moment to...
Yeah, except I really don't think Cecil kind of taking this a little over the edge.
Let us take this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, let us mourn the past. I can't. I am still holding this trophy. We go now to this pre-recorded public service announcement. Scientists and science in general would like to remind you that some things exist and some things do not. Usually, you can apply the simple test of seeing if it is there. If it is there, it exists. If not, it probably doesn't.
Yeah, well, it's kind of how things work in reality sometimes.
But it might just be currently existing somewhere else. Existence is tricky, the scientists say. Research shows this.
Because that's what they do. That's what scientists do. They do the tricky stuff for us.
For instance, there is that house in the housing development of Desert Creek out back of the elementary school. The house that doesn't exist. It seems like it exists. Like it's just right there when you look at it, and it's between two other identical houses, so it would make more sense for it to be there than not. But it does not exist. They have proved this with science. The scientists still haven't gotten up the nerve to ring the doorbell and find out what happens.
I just have to laugh there for a sec.
Do you want to do it? They'll pay you $5 if you do. Just ring it once, okay? We'll be watching from back here. You'll probably be fine. Ladies, gentlemen, how wonderful. Carlos is not dead at all. It seems that the Apache tracker ran in, crouching awkwardly through the pin retrieval area and shouting, "Nakonec moyo vremya podoshlo." He leapt into the pit, trailing his offensive feather headdress, and heaved Carlos up in a mighty bear hug, carrying him out of the pit while being attacked viciously by the miniature citizens of the miniature city.
Kind of like a modern, updated Lilliputians.
Even Jeremy, upset still about his ruined birthday party, couldn't help but cheer as the formerly false, now real Native American laid Carlos safely on the linoleum floor. Teddy Williams, who, of course, is also a licensed doctor, as all bowling alley owners are required to be, checked his wounds and indicated through a series of rhythmic hoots that Carlos will be, in fact, okay.
Well, that's good. I mean, I can see where our boy Cecil's happy.
He's okay. Never before in my career as a broadcaster have I gone through such a roller coaster of emotion and fear. To think that I had lost that most precious thing to me, the presence of Carlos in my life, and then to have it brought back so that I could appreciate it all the more. Oh, Carlos, all the words I would never have said to you.
Love's loss, can do that.
And the news that the city is in fact only a miniature city 10 feet down, well, that was startling as well. But it appears that all is well. And so I say to you, with a heart singing its way from heavy to light, good night, Night Vale. Good... Oh no. I have just been handed a note. Oh. This is not good news. Ladies and gentlemen, in his valiant rescue of our beloved Carlos, the Apache tracker was mortally wounded. He is bleeding profusely, and it is getting all over his fake feather headdress, and he says that even his ancient Indian magics will not help him, which of course they won't, because they're not real.
Yeah, you just gotta make you wonder what they attacked him with.
Listeners, how could I have been so wrong about this man? A racist embarrassment to our town? Maybe. A real jerk? Yes. But he also was a man with Night Vale's best interests at heart, who worked closely with the angels and the mysterious man in the tan jacket to protect us from the miniature city under the bowling alley.
Or at least that's how it appears.
And he, at the cost of his own life, saved Carlos. Carlos breathes, and soon the Apache tracker will not. Tell me nothing else, and still I will tell you. Here is a good man. Here is a good man dying. Here it is, the end of a good man's life.
Yeah, sometimes your views of people change when it directly affects you.
The Apache tracker spoke, not in a hoarse whisper, but with a clear, ringing voice addressing the sky hidden behind the styrofoam panels of the ceiling. Ladno, ladno, я знал, это случится. Ты можешь взять мою машину. He said this, and then he died.
See, I've always wondered if that's actual Russian or not. I don't know enough about the Slavic languages to, if they're actually, well, known to people that do the Night Vale, it's probably actual Russian. Hell, as skilled as they are, there might be someone there that actually speaks Russian. So,
The Apache tracker is dead. Teddy Williams confirmed. Jeremy is slumped into a folding chair, kicking his feet and saying, "This is the worst birthday party anyone has ever had."
He does have a point, though.
Good night, brave tracker. Good night. I thought you were one thing and you were another. it is likely I will learn nothing from this.
That's kind of how society is. Very much.
And message on my phone. Carlos wants to see me. He says to meet him at the Arby's parking lot. I am not sure what scientific exploration now needs the services of my radio audience, but I will dutifully go. Dutifully meet him. And as I go, let us all go. Go now to the weather.
Okay, now, this is where we take our break because this is a whole music thing. And I will once again encourage you to go wherever you do your podcasts from and check out Welcome to Night Vale without my commentary and my giggling and my laughing, and enjoy it for yourself. So we'll pause real quick and we'll come back after the weather. Okay, we are back after the weather. Like I said, it's because it's a musical thing that they do for the weather break. And the way the copyright works, we kind of have to do that pause. So let's get back into it.
I arrived at the parking lot to find Carlos, perched on the trunk of his car in flannel and jeans, his perfect hair mussed, his perfect teeth hidden. "What is it?" I said. What danger are we in? What mystery needs to be explored?" He shook his head. "Nothing," he said. "After everything that happened, I just wanted to see you." My heart leapt. My heart soared. My heart metaphorically performed a number of aerial activities, and literally it began to beat hard. "Oh?" I said, my voice more tremble than word. Carlos looked at the setting sun. "I used to think it was setting at the wrong time," he said. "But then I realized that time doesn't work in Night Vale."
At least not the way it's supposed to work.
"And that none of the clocks are real. Sometimes things seem so strange or malevolent, and then you find that underneath it was something else altogether, something pure and innocent."
And crazy.
"I know what you mean," I replied. Somewhere the tiny people of the city below have arrived in Night Vale and are beginning their war against us.
Though I have a feeling like a really good fire hose, or hell, even a good fire extinguisher could probably fix that problem, to be honest with you.
Having already shown themselves capable of murder. Somewhere, a man in a tan jacket is whispering into the ears of our mayor, and we do not know what agenda they pursue. Somewhere, the body of the Apache tracker lies cold and still, never to speak of ancient Indian magics again. This all happens somewhere else.
Or somewhere here. You never know.
But here, Carlos and I sat on the trunk of that car, his car, looking together at the lights up in the sky above the Arby's. They were beautiful in the hushed twilight, shimmering in a night sky already coming alive with bits of the universe. 1 year later, 1 year since he arrived. He put his hand on my knee.
And that is how that goes.
And said nothing. And I knew what he meant. I felt the same. I leaned my head on his shoulder. We understand the lights. We understand the lights above the Arby's.
Mm-hmm.
We understand so much. But the sky behind those lights, mostly void, partially stars.
This is like, it would be, a kind of like a NASA weather report or something. And it's kind of consistent with the way Neil deGrasse Tyson describes space, that it's so infinite. There's more space without anything in it in the universe than there are places with stuff like planets and suns and asteroids and what have you.
That sky reminds us we don't understand even more. Good night, Night Vale. Good night.
So, that is this 25th episode of Night Vale. I forgot to say this at the beginning, but it's the 25th episode, and the title of it is 1 year later. So, I hope everyone is having fun, and remember to be a good person, to be good... I messed that up. Be a good human. Be good to other humans. Peace.
Hey, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?